Do you think it's worth it?
No.
Yeah.
What a coinky dink. You gave it to your parents.
For real. I'm surprised you're actually sharing that. Hello, friends. My name is Wilson.
I'm Cass.
Welcome back for another week of Two Kids and a Startup, where we share with you about everything that we're doing in raising two kids, building a startup, and everything in between. This week, we celebrated
Beyonce.
Yeah, tell us about it.
It was the highlight of the week. Well, oh my gosh, the tickets are so expensive. So Wilson was sweet enough to surprise me with a ticket to Beyonce. And I actually had tickets. I bought it right away, but I have this kind of poor mentality that I feel like it's way too expensive. So then I sold it. But Wilson surprised me with 2 floor tickets, and it was my first time, I think, being on the floor, and it was the best time.
Yeah.
Yeah, and not highlight. Okay, so we saw Beyonce. I've been so excited. Blue Ivy was there dancing. And what happened also was John Legend and Chrissy Teigen walked out as well. So they were guests. And more importantly, Jay-Z was also there. I didn't see him, but anyways, highlight of the week. Super stoked.
The funny thing is, now I can share with you, my interest level is just completely different from yours on stuff like
What do you mean? You like
I enjoy the performance because I was more intrigued by the set and the experience of it all.
The set was so good. It was like an Academy Award performance, like a VMA ceremony performance, but the entire time. The dance was great. The entertainment was great. The production was insane. Her as an entertainer is just beyond.
Yeah, she really owned the stage, which was really cool to see as a performer.
And what was so incredible was when, I don't know if you noticed, but when she first came out to say hi to her fans, she just stood there for 2 to 3 minutes just to take in everything. And she said that this was like her gratitude tour, and you can see it when she was just pausing and everyone was just cheering. Like, that was, I don't think anybody I've ever seen that. Only Beyonce can do that.
She's such a boss.
Damn, she is super boss. Yeah. But also, ever since I became a mom, one thing that I've noticed I get is anytime there's anything related to a child or a parent, I just am like heart melting. And so when I saw Blue Ivy dancing and Beyonce just looking at her and just smiling with like so much happiness, I was like, I'm gonna cry. This is the sweetest moment ever.
See, that is the reason why I bought you those tickets, is because of this. I think it's super important for us to continue to pamper each other, take care of each other, and create memories with each other, and not just lost in the identity of being a parent, and have our night out, have our time to experience and rekindle the joy that you have, and with your favorite artist. Super cool. What's your, since it's your first time being on the floor, mine as well, what's the biggest difference? Do you think it's worth it?
No. At the age that unless it's like extremely close where I could feel her sweat, I haven't experienced that yet. It wasn't
nice
because
try, Cass. Nice try.
because it was extremely uncomfortable on my neck, and I'm not tall, so I felt like because it's on the floor, you're kind of fighting against everybody at their height, so I'm just at disadvantage, so it was just hurting me. And as close as I was, I'm still looking at the screen because I can't see past the like mountains of taller people. So I actually feel like the best seat in the house was probably like the lower bowl, the first row. where you're a bit on a platform, you're not like physically hurting your neck, and you get a full view of everything. Damn, those were really good seats. And you probably would have just seen John Legend and Chrissy Teigen walk out.
Well, you know what? Next time we know we're not getting floor seats.
Yeah. I mean, unless it's super close. I haven't tried that yet. So
Yeah, we're good. We're good. You're not. It's okay. We're past that stage.
whatever.
Now back to being a parent, Cassandra. Yeah, this week has also been a fun week with Jordy
Yeah.
heading into pre-K.
Yep. She's in pre-K now, and she's in a new class where she's only has maybe 4 of her old classmates that transferred over, and all the rest of her other previous classmates were moved into different classes. And it's been hard to hear because Jordan's been kind of complaining that she doesn't love the teachers. She doesn't love that she has not a lot of friends. She just always says she wants to go back to her old class, hang out there, and every day we kind of walk back to go visit them. So it kind of sucks. And it's so funny because, is it terrible that we say this? When we were looking at the yearbook, I was like, ooh, looking at all the teachers, I'm like, who's gonna be really hard? And I'm like, this one's gonna be really hard. She's gonna be like those really strict ones. And guess what? Jackpot. We've got the hard, tough teachers. And so
I'm surprised you're actually sharing that, but you know what? Let's be real. And I think for me, the biggest challenge is really, like when your daughter comes to you and says that, like, she doesn't like school because she has no friends, she wants to go back to the old class, you just want to help her. Your first instinct is to be like, okay, you know what, let's change class. Let's talk to the principal.
Yeah.
Let's figure it out. How can we change her out? And that's the first instinct. Yet on the other hand, the logical side is she's got to learn how to go through these hurdles. She's got to learn how to make new friends. She's got to learn that, not everything's rainbow and sunshine. And I think that's something that me internally is struggling with at times. It's like, what battles are we going to fight for her, and what we're going to allow her to fight for herself. And I was even sharing with you, I'm like, oh, maybe we should throw a party to invite her new friends to come over, so she can start to, like, jam with the new friends and start to have that bond a little bit easier and faster.
Yeah. And I don't know that it is the friendships, but more so even like the experience. And like, as a mom, when I look through the classroom, as much as, yes, we can build those friendships, but I'm just looking at it, and I don't know because I'm obviously not in the classroom, but it just feels like they're not having fun. And maybe that's me being biased and trying to help Jordy, but I also get it. We do struggle. Do we help her with, creating a space where she can flourish, or leave her in a classroom to build resilience? And I don't know the answers. I get mixed answers. I don't think it's fair for us to pick and choose.
No.
But she loves school. She's loved it.
Remember that feedback that one of your friend gave you?
No. Which one?
I remember you coming home the other day. You're like, oh, you know what? Your friend was sharing with you how it's very important for her to like school.
Oh, yeah. And he says, like, the moment that they don't like school is the moment they don't get excited about school. And
that's when they turn.
And she's 4, which isn't like, we're not talking about teenagers, but I want her to love school still. It's hard to hear, and I don't know what the answer is. I do think it's not just us struggling with it. I see a lot of new pre-K students all like hugging their parents in the morning. And so I'm sure it's a very common problem. It's just, how far do we want to push it? I want her to love school. Yeah. I also want her to start understanding resilience.
The funny thing is, I was already thinking, I'm like, if this was Weston,
Oh
Like,
yeah, no,
yeah.
it's so straight. Totally. Yeah, I
It'd be
agree. And I'm
completely
like,
different.
yeah, it's different.
We'll be
And
like, we'll be like, yo, you know what? Deal with it, Westy.
I know.
Man, Westy is a he is such a character. I love him, and he's such a character. So this morning, we're trying to get to school, and he was holding this giant box
Cube.
cube
It's like a
that's like
toy that makes music.
huge, and we're like, you know what? Leave it because we got to go to school. And what this little kid, a year and a half, did was he pushed it. He was pushing it while running down the stairs, and I'm running after this kid, mind you. I'm like, yo, George, Westy, what are you doing? We have to go to school. And he's just like darting for the stairs. And when he was at the stairs, I was just there, not in time for him to push that giant cube down the stairs. And it just went on like boom, 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 clash. Just everything everywhere.
That's our son.
Man,
Mm-hmm.
he's such a character. And he was just staring at me in a way that's like, now what?
It's like, what are you gonna do?
What are you gonna do about it, huh? Yeah. What are you gonna do about it, huh?
Exactly.
So funny. Now, speaking of children, it's really cool that we get to be able to take on a client that is also working on a children's concept.
Yes. So we are working with a client in the apparel space. Their demographic is mostly, I would say, toddlers to preteens, a luxury retail brand. And they've engaged with us to help them build their footprint in Web3.
Web3 and also tech, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's actually, speaking of which, they engaged us. Man, working with these bigger brands is such a long process. It's been almost like 9 months, or more than 9 months actually, since we engaged.
Mm-hmm.
And we closed the deal just a couple months ago finally. And such a long process. Italian brand, and it's like very different in culture.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It was so funny. Pre-signing the contract, they always had a game face, all four of them. And I have I can't really read through what they're thinking. They don't really smile and whatnot. But every time we meet now, they're always so happy, so friendly, always so bubbly as well. And it's like, ciao, ciao, Will, ciao, Cass. And I'm like, oh my God, that's so cool. They even invited us to their fashion week, which is so cool. I really, really want to go.
Well, you should pack your bags to go in a week or two.
Are we going?
Huh? No. You can go. I have kids I need to take care of. I won't. But anywho, so we are building out their concept, which includes everything from the concept to the art direction to the branding, community, marketing, tech
business model.
And we break it out into different phases. This last week, we've really been focusing on finalizing their branding and art direction, which is an interesting process because this is the first time we presented something. Actually, this is the first time we presented everything that we've learned in the last couple of months around who they are, what they want, what they don't want, to present something. So it's always nerve-wracking to see, is this in line? Because this is the first test where they're going to say, how close are you to checking the box, or how close are you in really hitting what we're looking for or what we've signed you up for? And it's good that it's branding and and art direction, because I find that this type of work is always fun. You're always, everyone loves a good visual and visual direction. There's no one never excited when you first see a branding presentation or art presentation. So I think we had that, but we came out of that call really good.
Oh, it was amazing.
I think we got it at a 10 out of 10.
Oh, for sure, a 10 out of 10. And now it's really interesting for me. My role has been shifted, and it's a really cool experience to be able to see other people present, because usually I'm the one that's pitching, I'm the one that's doing the presentation and whatnot. But now, as we're doing these kind of client work, our team is presenting. And what I do usually nowadays is to just watch how they react, what sticks, what doesn't stick, when are they engaged, and to be able to timestamp it to the point that we are making, and to see like, okay, this is an area that they really like, let's take notes of that. Or this is an area that they falling asleep, okay, you know what, this is not hitting the spot. And for me, I was really antsy throughout this entire experience, because not for the last presentation, but for the 3-4 different sessions that we have been having with them, it was just constant intake, constant workshops, constant discovery. And I'm like, God damn, like, when are we going to get to work? When are we going to be presenting? And it's been weeks. And I'm like,
not because you don't want to, it's because we didn't have enough, like we just
didn't have enough.
Yeah.
info.
I think there's a bit of a cultural gap in, for example, the intention of the words they use behind, and when it comes to branding, like the intentionality around, and also like the business objectives, like when we're building out the vision and the values, like for them, I don't feel like they weighed it as heavily, versus for us, we're a very value vision led direction company that we weighed that heavily. So for them, it's like, can we stop picking words and picking meaning? Because I can see it in their face. They're like, oh, why do I have to go through this? But you know very well why it's so important.
Oh, totally.
But actually, I wanted to jump back into a point that you mentioned about your role and your kind of position now. Why don't you talk a little bit about how you acted more as a solopreneur versus how you are now as kind of running more as a CEO with a team that is running more effectively? Because I feel like there's been a difference in how you operate. I've seen it.
I'm learning a lot. Like, I used to drive my teams with just like a solopreneur type of attitude, where like what I say goes, and just boom, let's do it. And now it's practicing a lot more active listening, trying to be a lot more patient with doing things the right way, laying the right foundations, so then that way we are not going to be running in circles per se. I mean, that's something that I struggle with a lot, to be honest. I struggle with it a lot because I feel like that in today's market and environment, we just need to go fast.
I actually think we go very fast. I probably think our team grows faster than you going on your own fast.
I think so too, I guess. I am just impatient. That's all.
You're just impatient because you don't have the control over it.
Yeah.
I think, when I look back at what you do and how you operate before versus how we've been operated now as a team of
6, 7?
5, 6, I think it's quite different. I see you have more time because you're not working in the business as much. Like, you're not so task oriented. Like, how much task work are you actually doing when you're now? I think that has been released of you, of now focusing on business development or vision or direction, or thinking about things that will really help move forward the business.
That's true.
You haven't really how involved were you in really doing the deck or critiquing until the last moment? You've now become someone who is not working in it, but also more of an approver, which I think is the right direction.
Yeah, I agree. I that we're 100% aligned. I think this is something that learning curve for me as well, and it's nice. It's nice to be able to learn and change the way that I am, and as I'm growing as an entrepreneur as well. I think it's a really cool journey. Yeah.
But jumping back into Proto Kids, and you mentioned how looking at their clients and their reactions, I think one part, actually, the workshop, the branding results, the deck that we presented, I felt like it was a 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
But for me, the biggest takeaway was really about seeing, like what you mentioned, their excitement and what level, because I can understand and hear through their inactions and their actions and what they say, what they're looking for.
Sorry, what do you mean by inactions and actions?
So, okay, our client went when he saw how we presented a certain style or an illustration or the art direction he wanted. Let's say it was more of a pixelated design. His reaction was like beaming. He even, of course, Italians, put his arm in his cheek and was like, blown away. Did you remember seeing that?
Yes.
It was just the sweetest moment.
Yes, this is like, it was like so spot on that he's like, yes,
like this is beautiful.
Yeah, this is beautiful. You read my mind. Yeah, it was really nice to see. And it was not only one, it was actually all three of them that was watching the presentation.
Oh really? I only noticed him being so enthusiastic about it.
All three of them was really like head nodding and like yes, because everyone's on mute. So but then like when you're observing, you're like, whoa, this is good, this is awesome, we're hitting the mark. Yeah.
And so when I saw that, and then I started really paying attention to what he said, and he said that, you know, this is spot on. He was, you know, this is exactly what I envisioned. And that's what he submitted in his business case. And now I quickly pivoted, because originally for me, I'm always assessing who is the one who is making the shots. You know, for me, it was going to be the most senior person, the right hand of the person approving it. But now I know, okay, well, actually it wasn't. It was the person who conceptually designed this business case, meaning that is the idea that was approved, meaning we need to weigh in heavily more what he is asking for. Now I'm looking back at my notes, I'm like, okay, this person said this. Okay, how do we tie it in? Which after that call, when we started working on the concept, we're like, let's tie in what he wanted specifically, not what everyone else, when we prioritized everybody else. And so that kind of helped inform and had like a check and balance of what direction should we go, because it's always a guessing game when you're working in, I think, client work.
Yeah, that's such a big lesson that you shared, and so insightful, is to not present stuff that you think and you believe is right and cool, but more so really knowing who your audience is, and even knowing not just your client, but within the client group, who is the one that holds the most pull, and to really practice active listening. And I think that is like very insightful. Yeah,
thanks.
Good job.
Yeah, and you know, we went from the branding workshop to also then working on the concept, which is a beast of its own, because now we're delivering essentially a business model for approval.
It's actually really cool how we're divvying up and like breaking down this entire project into so many different pillars, big pillars, and each one of the pillars has its own type of presentation, and to make sure that we're at the right mark. And then the final deliverable is mashing everything together to make for a business case. I'm like, that's a big project, and it's actually really sound, and it's great. It's super cool.
Yeah. And so when we did that, coming off that call, it really informed our direction because we already had a direction.
Mm-hmm.
And it then we really had to relook at it and say, okay, well, now that we know this is what he wanted, is this the right answer or no? Yes or no? It might not be, but we need to indicate it so that we can show we are listening. We know what you want, but based on us being the experts and understanding the market, this is the reasons why this direction may not work, and therefore this is what we're presenting that encompasses that.
Mm-hmm. The nuance with client work and in such a fast-paced environment of like tech is that it moves so fast. So initially when we first engaged, this was like months ago, the concept at that time might seem super sound and might seem like is a really golden opportunity that we should jump into. But after 6 months, it's completely shifted. And so it is our job to make sure that we hold the initial concept and the essence of the initial concept true, but at the same time, really be adaptive to the marketplace to see kind of like where it's going and also present something that has longevity and not just the fad that's in front of us.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a multifaceted kind of way to approach a concept, which I believe we have done super well and that they're going to be super happy with what we're presenting.
Same. We just need to clean it.
We didn't clean things up. And it's so funny, before we were working on this, we felt like that we were like, what, at a 10-20%. And we're like, oh my goodness, like, because they're so happy, because they're satisfied, we need to be able to kind of ride on that high and to continue to deliver. And we're like, we're only 20% there. We're kind of like, damn, what's going to happen? We need to present next week. And then yesterday we spent the whole day just conceptualizing, research, jamming, collaborating. And by the end of the day, we feel like we're at a 70-80%.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel?
I feel like we're at 80% now.
Ooh, nice. Yeah.
Honestly, the 20% is around presentation and polishing, which is a lot more on our creative director side to take what we have designed and visually bring it to life, especially knowing how visual because language is a bit of a disconnect. The only thing that will translate between the two is going to be visuals. And so also a good note is that understanding your audience and being able to present in a way that would resonate with them.
And at the same time, we need to understand, and this is something that I always share with even our creative director. We share with her, like, what we're presenting right now is not just the 3 people or 4 people in front of us, because they need to take this idea, even if they are like a 10 out of 10 on this, they need to present it to their stakeholders and multiple different departments, CEO of the other corporations, whatever the case may be, to get the approval and then kind of come back to us. So if we do not present something that is exciting, visually exciting, and really specific, the language and the concepts would be lost in translation. So it's really important for us to understand that and to actually create something that can actually be funneled up, funneled down, and not lost in translation. So that was a really key point. And for me personally, I feel like that there's still somewhat work to be done with. It's been really interesting, actually. Yesterday we were just talking about how we approach the same project from just very different perspectives. Like, I'm approaching it from a way that's really seeing the vision and really painting the vision and how great and
you need a whiteboard.
I need a whiteboard. That's kind of my thought process. And I realized that's like something that I cannot compromise on is being able to see that vision. And once I see it, everything else just would get there. I really believe in that. And because that's how I've been operating for the past 10 years. And whereas Cass comes from a very like efficient, effective, like operational perspective, like you're like clear cut. You're like, this out of the way. Not important. This is important. This is what we need to focus on. And I'm like, no, no, no. I need the unimportant things in my life to help me paint the picture. And it's just interesting to see how we work so different, and yet we're able to work together. And
Surprisingly,
yeah, yeah,
yeah, you know what is a good test in a relationship, because I think we've been dating or married for so long. We've now taken the step to become parents. Relationships check, parents, always work in progress, but to do this work together is a whole other world of testing our relationship personally, but also professionally. And surprisingly, I feel like we've gotten into a good groove of working together.
yeah.
Better. Like, we know how to balance our strengths, where we are good, what you need, what I need, how to tailor our approaches together. Sometimes I just need to sit through you drawing a whiteboard to get to where I'm ready to chat about. I'm like, thank you, but I also need you to get there, so then you can come up with, to see other ideas that I didn't see before. Because if you're not in, what I learned working with you is, if you're not invested, you just don't give two beeps.
You're right. If I don't see it, I can't be bought in, and I'm like, I need
You
to
just
see it.
ignore it. You're like, oh, you guys got it. You guys got it. You guys got it. You know, almost to the point where it's like, I'm like, do you care? Until you sit down and draw your whiteboard is when I'm like, I get you. Until you don't have that whiteboard is when I don't get you.
It's interesting. I mean, to your point about, relationship is super sound, which is great. And being parents, you know what? I love being parents with you. It's so much fun. And I think we do it in such a fun way that we both enjoy it so much. And I'm like so thankful. It's so much fun. And to your point about, growing and testing a relationship in this work environment, where in a way you're kind of like, I would say I've always was quite protective with, this is my bubble, in a sense, like this is my work, like, and now to be able to open it up and share it with you, and to be able to grow this with you is a learning experience for sure. And it's interesting that we are able to still make it work without killing each other. And as you said, we're finding that groove. And yeah, it's interesting. And I feel like with the years to come, we would become more and more efficient. We are more and more supplementary to each other. I think that would come, right? And I'm excited. I'm quite excited for that day to come. And it's nice to be able to actually work on a work professional project that we can both work on together. It's like, in high school, you're working on a group project together. And this is what we're doing. So cool.
Yeah. And until you get your whiteboard, you're sleeping. You're like, oh, you're not the one who turns on,
Nope.
turn around the homework.
Nope. No,
now I have my whiteboard. I'm like, okay, I'm on.
Not my role. I don't care.
Yeah.
Like, when you deny me of the opportunity to jam with you on a whiteboard, I will not be invested, because that's not how it works. But yeah, I'm really excited. I think that this is going to be super successful. And I think we're going to be able to learn a lot from this, and that we can apply it to our own projects as well. Yeah, I think we want to be able to keep people up to date on what this is happening and how it unfolds.
Yeah.
Super cool. And this past week, midweek, I took a day off.
How dare you? While you were taking a day off,
yeah,
I was busting my butt working.
Get to work. And I took a day off to go fishing with the fam, including our team, the two managers of a team that we have been working together for the last 6-7 years, my dad, my best friend's dad, my father-in-law, and we chartered a boat out to Fraser River to catch these 300-pound 8-foot monsters. these guys are like dinosaurs, Cass. They're just so cool. And this is actually part of my bucket list for a few years now that I've always wanted to do, is to take my dad out fishing for sturgeons, and we were able to finally do it.
Yeah, it looked like a sea monster.
It is a
It's
sea
huge.
monster. It took us 45 minutes to fight this monster and to reel it in. We broke our backs, and it was an experience that I don't think I'll ever forget. It was so scary. This guy's just jumping out, emerging from the water, just going straight up like a sea monster, like a Pokemon sea monster, like that, and then jumping back down. And the hooks, by the way, are the size of my hand.
This is scary.
It is so scary.
But you came home with a fish. I was impressed.
Yeah.
You came home with the salmon.
Thank you. Yeah. And afterwards.
Is that the first fish you've ever caught?
No, I've caught a few. Yeah, I have salmon before. Up in Hope. No, for real.
When?
On the creek? No, I'm not.
You've never brought home a salmon up until
yeah, because
today.
I don't like salmon. I don't eat salmon.
Yeah, but you wouldn't, if you caught it, you would still bring it home.
No, for real. I gave it to my parents to take home.
I see.
Yeah. We were on the creek, and then like we were fishing.
I see.
Yeah.
What a coinky dink.
No,
You gave it to your parents.
for real. I'm not even joking.
Okay. Well, agree to disagree.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, it was nice to be able to spend some time with everyone, with the fam.
Super nice.
To end off the summer like that.
Yeah.
Shared experiences are always nice. I think as I'm getting older and older, or as I'm maturing, these experiences are more valuable to me more than ever.
Right.
Yeah. But I am actually super excited to actually finally relax this weekend. Yeah. The journey of raising 2 kids, building
Fun.
a startup.
Always.
Fun, exciting, challenging, everything all at once. And that's pretty much it. So yeah, let us know how you guys liked this episode. Make sure you guys hit that like button, subscribe to the journey, and we will see you guys next week.
See ya.
Ciao.
Ciao, ciao.